This issue here with the homeless population in Los Angeles, and I've talked about this before, but the city, from what I've seen, I'm going to play this clip from Case. From what I've seen, the city is trying to find ways to make life a little bit easier for people who are homeless in LA. So there are certain measures that they have taken. And these commentators on Fox, of course, you know how they're going to go on this. They're not for it. But not only that, some of the things that they say here, it just really shows like the classism, the elitism, and either they're acting or they don't really understand that any one of us could end up homeless. Most Americans are one paycheck away from being homeless. Listen to how they frame this. I want you to hear some of these remarks.
Homeless encampments in liberal Los Angeles have a brand new amenity, working washing machines. Yes, it's true. Vagrants are setting up oversized tents and boasting about how they can steal water and electricity from the city in order to power their own street laundry service. And in California's other beleaguered liberal city, San Francisco, a widely criticized plan to build a single $1.7 million public toilet could be going down the drain. Governor Gavin Newsom threatening to withhold the funds because of the exorbitant price. Jesse's fiscal responsibility.
Yeah, that was a big primetime victory because
I just want to jump in here and say something about the washer machine. Obviously, what they should be doing is building more housing for the homeless people. I just want to make that clear. You know, adding a washing machine, a portable washing machine, and adding public restrooms. Yeah, those are little things. But what they should be doing is building more housing for homeless people. And you need to demand housing for all. That should be the goal. So I'm not against them adding those things, especially not for the same reason they are against them adding those things, but that doesn't fix the problem. The people need a home. They need housing. So that's the big issue here that I think people really need to pay attention to. That being said, I will say this. In reference to the public restroom bit, part of the problem, I haven't been to LA, but part of the problem that you run into in some of these cities, and Boston is one of them, and New York had this as an issue too when I lived there. Could be different now. I have to check. Some of the businesses won't allow people to use their restroom unless they purchase something at that business. Like, for example, if I'm hanging out downtown Boston, or if I'm over there by Boston Common, those restaurants, all those restaurants lined up around Boylston Street and Tremont, you can't just go in there and use the restroom. In fact, they're locked. So you have to purchase something and then say, can I get the code for the restroom, right? So if you have a public restroom, you don't have to worry about that. I will say sometimes it's been kind of frustrating. Like if you're just hanging out, like out and about in the city and you don't really want to spend that much money and you just have to pee, it has been kind of frustrating sometimes. It's like I have to go into this restaurant, I have to buy something and I just really just need to pee. Just something to think about. But listen to this. This is crazy.
We've been pushing hard against this toilet.
Yep,
it's going to be 3 years to complete a single stall public restroom, not made of gold. It is a regular toilet, and it's costing about $2 million.
Outrageous.
Outrageous, but we're going to get that cleaned up.
Now, I'm pretty sure one toilet does not cost $1.7 million. You see what I'm saying? You see how they exaggerate?
The situation in, was it Los Angeles?
Yeah.
You have to let people hit rock bottom because then they bounce back up. Democrats want to make rock bottom comfortable. Yeah, stay at rock bottom, you know, put a washer, dryer.
You have to let people hit rock bottom because then they bounce back up. How many homeless people are bouncing back up? How many homeless people are bouncing back up? Do you know when you're homeless, it's hard for you to get a job because you have to have an address when you fill out the application? Like what? Let them hit rock bottom because then they'll bounce back up. If that's the case, then why is the homeless population continuing to increase? I don't see those homeless people in Los Angeles bouncing back up. I don't see homeless people in Boston bouncing back up, or Seattle or Austin, all these tent communities. Where are they bouncing to? That doesn't make any sense. And that was really an asshole thing to say. It really was. Let's remember, he's rich.
Put a wine fridge in there. Yeah, do whatever you need to do. Spread out. Spread yourself out. That's the problem. You're actually hurting people by letting them fester and squalor. Don't sit there and let them do this to you, because you're not allowed to sleep on public property and you're not allowed to sleep on private property. So get them the hell out of there.
One of the huge problems.
This is the problem I have with this talking point when people say, get them out, get rid of them. And send them where? Because if you think it's just LA, it's not. It's not. Look up the tent communities in Austin, Texas. It's happening all across the country. So it's like, get them out of here. Send them away. Send them to where? Wherever you send them, they're still going to be homeless. They'll just be another city's problem. You see what I'm saying? Instead of just guaranteeing housing for all, making sure that everyone is guaranteed a home. And we're a wealthy country. Like, this shouldn't even be an issue. It really shouldn't. But I don't like when people have that type of mindset like he did, when they say, oh, just get rid of them, push them out. And push them where? You know, it's the same thing with gentrification. And working class people get pushed out of these neighborhoods. And they just go to another neighborhood and have a further commute. It just, honestly, they don't want them at all. They don't want them there at all. That's what this is. Ay.
With the law in some of these places, Judge, is that they allow tents. And tents means more permanent. Basically, you're basically going to sit there.
Yes,
stay there.
well, yeah, they have to change that zoning, those ordinances, those municipal ordinances. But, you know.
You had homeless people. You still will have homeless people in this country, even if they don't allow the tents. Let's be real. You think I never saw people sleeping on the bench? You think I never saw people sleeping in the subway? You'll still have homeless people. So here she comes in saying, well, they let them have these tents and it's like a permanent, solution here. So it's like a permanent home for them. And you know what? Police officers throw those tents away. I've seen them do it. Police officers will come and they'll do a sweep. And then that group of people, that tent community, will relocate to another part of the city and they have to try to get another tent. This is why when we did Tour for the Poor in Boston, the first item that I purchased were tents, because the cops come and they do sweeps and they throw them away. They're not going to mention that part, though.
I want to go back to the 1.7 million single stall toilet in San Francisco. I want to know, I wish I were the DA in San Francisco. I want to know how much corruption, how many people got paid off. Who got paid off to approve it at the zoning board? Who got paid off to approve the bid?
How much were you paid off to lie on Fox News? Janine. She's another one. She's rich.
Got the bid? Who's getting the plumbing? Who's getting this contract? I mean, I would love it. Just let me do one case. That's an outrage. All right, now back to what was your question?
No, that's okay. On the encampments, I think you made the point
that you have to change the law.
Because tents are we're lucky in New York that it's against the law and they enforce it.
Yes, it's
but
people still have tents in New York too.
Excuse me.
Sure.
You can get them. You can get them for criminal, not stolen property, for using the electricity, the water. You can prosecute them for that unless.
Do you hear this? She wants you to arrest homeless people. She said you can prosecute them for using the utilities. Here she come in. She's a cop. So her solution here is arrest the homeless people, prosecute them, send them to jail.
they have permission from the municipality. They can't use that water or
Right.
that electricity.
Because that's just another way to
Dang.
steal from the taxpayers.
If you look at these kind of like, these nice public bathrooms, within months they're destroyed. And they're destroyed by the homeless. What upsets
I've never seen a nice public restroom, to be honest. I really have not. But this is just, this is so bad. The way they're just talking about them like they're nothing.
me, and in a clumsy way, Jesse touched on it.
You can say that about pretty much everything.
Yes. This idea of compassion creates this problem. It's false compassion. It's a phony virtue signal, and it prevents the necessary steps that are needed to.
That's not actually what creates the problem. Capitalism creates the problem. Of course, they're not going to say that. That's how people get there. That's how people get there. I just told you, the average American is one paycheck away from being homeless. Just one. So if you have an unexpected expense where you have to spend money, it could be your car broke down. It could be a medical expense where you have to actually pay up front first for part of the procedure. Yes, that does happen. Now you're short on rent. And maybe you don't have a nice landlord that's going to let you make up that rent. If you can save again to make it up. And you're evicted and you're out on the street just like that. This is just, it's like, you could tell, like, they don't know the struggle. They really don't. They don't know the struggle, or they do know the struggle and they're acting.
Get these people off the street. So their idea of compassion is languishing on the street, overdosing, becoming victims of violence, turning tricks, whatever it is. We have to understand that affordable housing and shelters is not going to help for people who choose to live outside society.
People who are evicted did not choose to live outside society. They want you to believe that everyone that's homeless is on drugs. He said turning tricks. That's what they want you to believe. Some of them are, some of them are not. There's people who are homeless that have jobs. Did you guys know that? There's people who are homeless that are working and they couldn't afford the rent. I saw an entire documentary about it. That was in Seattle. It was a whole family. The guy was a software engineer, and him and his family had to live in a tent because they couldn't afford the rent. She lost her job and they had a kid.
Only thing we can do is create an area where they can live outside society.
Well, actually, my way wasn't clumsy, it was concise. After listening to your explanation.
Harold, would you like to talk about the toilet or the wash machine?
Talk about
Or your family history.
Look, I'm torn on this too. I mean, I think we all, no one wants anyone to be homeless, and I don't think anyone is wanting to live on the street. No one has said that.
I think people do.
They do want to live on the street.
I talk to them.
Yeah.
Well, I think. Well, I know I don't, and I don't know anybody that
That's because you're normal.
Right, but I think they're normal people who fall into hard times. This is not the answer.
That's not
All I'm
hard time.
saying-
He's got to wash and dryer.
All I'm saying is this is not the
See? So he said, I think they're normal people that fall on hard times.
answer to this problem. And Los Angeles passed a tax increase on its wealthiest residents a few years ago to help build housing, and they've only built like 3,000 units, and they're spending $500,000 a unit.
Yep.
This is something that is ridiculous. It's absurd. No, I agree.
Yeah.
So we had to figure out. We've talked about this around the table. Figure out an answer, and let's try our hardest, because there's probably 2 or 3 answers. People whom are looking at my phone.
Who's calling? All right, the fastest is up next.
And they're laughing about it. The way that some people view homeless people in this country, it's really sad. It's really sad. Because a lot of times people don't stop and think that it could be them one day. They could be the one that falls on hard times, and they may not have anywhere to go. Not everybody has a parent that they can return to if they fall on hard times and they get evicted. Not everybody has that. Some people's parents aren't even alive. This is what I got to tell you. Exactly. Thank you, Hugo. Thank you. It could be you losing your job. And people say, well, you get unemployment. You know how long that takes? It's gross. That's right, EMK. It's disgusting. It's gross. The way they're just talking about them like that and laughing like. Carl said Boston has all their homeless kind of corralled in one area. Yeah. Especially over there by Boston Medical Center. For now, anyway, because they've moved them before. Saul says, I see homeless people every day I step outside my house. E.G. Butler says there's no answer to homelessness in capitalism. Stephen, thank you for the super chat. Door 24, our leaders are psychopaths. Philly Steve. JB Sabby, I applaud you for being able to get through this segment. Those people are horrible. Yeah, when I first saw that video, I was like, oh my God. I was like, I have to talk about this. But it was hard to watch. Just the lack of empathy.